Hi. Yeah, thank you. I'm Matt Jordan. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a developer at Northwestern University Libraries. For the next few minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit about Clover IIIF, which is a IIIF viewer and front-end toolkit that has been under development by Northwestern and the broader community for the past few years. It is React-based. It's hosted in Samvera Labs, and please do check it out. There's also robust documentation. I'll give you a quick overview of Clover and all of its components, and then I'm going to jump into an actual working example and explore how we can use these components to construct a web page using just IIIF content and to make an entire screen essentially a IIIF viewer. Please do reach out to me if you have any questions, and I'm eager to hear your feedback. So here it goes. So last summer, I was having dinner with a few folks after like a long day at the IIIF conference, and I was asked if like we as a IIIF community should really be putting so much effort towards new viewer development. That is, like, why are these new viewers popping up when Universal Viewer and Mirador sort of handle things? And I thought for a second. I got a little bit defensive because Clover is newer. It's only been in development for a few years. And my answer for it is that all these viewers, Mirador, UV, Clover, Ramp, and Nona, they all specialize in something. Like, for instance, Ramp, built by the Avalon team in Indiana, is the best in AV, I believe, and it pushes that world forward. Nona, which was developed by Nikki O'Neill, formerly at NC State, now at Stanford, I think is an outstanding annotation viewer, and it's really great for in the classroom style annotations. Mirador handles the whole kitchen sink. It has a plugin library, but really it specializes in comparative analysis of manifests, meaning putting two manifests side by side and being able to sort of try to figure out the differences. Universal Viewer, which many of us use in Samvera products, sort of goes beyond IIIF and handles things like PDFs. And so, what is Clover, and why does it exist? And it's taken a little bit of a while to sort of figure this out, but I believe that Clover's core purpose in this sort of little domain that we have is to help developers spread IIIF content across the page and to the end user throughout an HTML document, not just in that rectangle that we call a IIIF viewer. And it does so by blending into existing user interfaces. And it does it with accessibility in mind. It's minimally styled. So it can easily adopt color schemes and typography fluidly of its parent application, and it covers like a wide portion of the IIIF presentation API, so it makes it very flexible for representing a full manifest to the page. Our original component in the Clover IIIF suite is the viewer itself. This, again, was developed in React, but also has a minimal vanilla JavaScript implementation. Development on this viewer began when we recognized a need for a strong mixed media IIIF viewer. That is, being like a manifest that has video and audio content alongside of images where you want that sort of deep zoom pan ability. This viewer really tries to hit as many checkboxes as possible when it comes to representing the IIIF presentation API and the various cookbook recipes that represent aspects of that. And it also is very easy to implement. The viewer also supports HLS streaming if you have a need for that, and it has a wide variety of configuration options and features. Oh, and in the future, also, we will be supporting the content search API. That's sort of under development right now. There's some additional components in the Clover IIIF code base, and these particular ones that I'm going to run through, we call these the primitives. These components sort of reach farther into the IIIF presentation API itself and support many of the different properties with matching components. So these are like your descriptive and linking properties. That would be like metadata, which we see here, a thumbnail, required statement for attribution, the label and the summary for the title and the description of your manifest. These data shapes are really like are modeled very clearly in the specification, and that allows us to render out the properties for these out and their shape outside of a fully formed manifest. That means we can pluck out just this metadata and render it wherever we want. For example, we may just want to render this particular data list that we have here to the screen as a HTML5 data list. And in this example, we are rendering the metadata here and targeting the German label value pairs. You can sort of see lang equals DE, and then also as DL, that's the semantic HTML5 data list. And so we are rendering this data list not using the English label and value pairs for technique, oil, and copper, but the German ones. There are many like more examples in our documentation of the various primitives, but they all sort of follow the same structured philosophy in their ability to sort of distill down to on-screen elements. That would be HTML elements for humans to access. So getting a little bit more into the fun stuff, this is the scroll component, which sort of is being developed currently for a particular project at Northwestern. But what it does is it sort of flips the idea of a viewer upside down. And rather than focusing on the content resource of a particular canvas, that'd be like the video, the image, or the audio sound, it focuses on the textual body annotation representing that thing or targeting that thing. And right now it only supports images, but we fully intend to support video and audio as well. And what this does is it makes the user able to search these textual bodies. That would be like the plain text, markdown, or HTML formatted content that is sort of representing that annotation. And so a user can actually search within those because we index them client side, and this allows them to jump across these canvases to find matching instances for a query string. This doesn't require you to have the content search API set up. It sort of just works client side as the IIIF manifest is loaded. Each one of those annotations is automatically indexed. And rather than like in a traditional viewer of having to sort of like click around and sift through the manifest, you can sort of see this all laid out almost in the way if you were like maybe in like special collections and you had these documents on a large table, you'd be able to sort through them, and in this case, scroll through them and see all this content in front of you. Scrolling sort of makes this whole process easier because the user can just move up and down the screen and there's no hidden values anywhere. This is really beneficial, for instance, if you had a large manuscript where you had multiple annotations on a particular canvas. Let's just say you had transcriptions and translations, and maybe even you had translations in multiple languages. You'd be able to see all these in front of you and also search them. And then finally, this component is the Clover IIIF slider. It's been around for some time. It used to be called Bloom IIIF, but now it's been moved underneath the Clover IIIF suite, and it's just called the slider component. And what it does is it takes a IIIF collection and it renders out a carousel-like component where each item in that collection is represented by an HTML5 figure. And if that item also has a homepage property on it, it'll render out a link to the homepage for that manifest. And it basically allows the user to navigate through a collection from page to page to page to page. We use this on the Northwestern University digital collection site, sort of at the bottom of each one of our items, to allow the user sort of to have this sort of serendipitous like browsing experience, and to jump into related content either by manifests that are represented in the same collection or by similar types of metadata. It's also used in some other open source software. So with that said, I'm gonna cut off here and we're gonna jump over to my demo site that I have set up, and we can sort of sort through each one of these components and show them on the screen and show you how we can sort of move them around to build a piece of web content. So the code base for this demo is hosted in GitHub under Matthew Jordan, SDC 2024 Clover IIIF demo if you want to look. And here's the representation of that code base on GitHub Pages. This is just a Next.js that's sort of rendering out this page. And I'm bringing in a manifest from the University of Washington in this example. And this manifest represents the song of the state of Washington, which is essentially just this 5-canvas item here, where the first 4 are images and the last is an audio file. And if I scroll down the page here, you can sort of see all this content being rendered out. All of this is coming from this IIIF manifest and being delivered by the Clover IIIF components. And if you wanted to test this out on your own, you can come up to this button up here, the collection button, and you can sort of bring in your own item if you'd like. If you toggle over to the other fixture I have here from Northwestern, or you can set your own. Let's just say this one from the University of Tennessee, and now I'm bringing in this one, and you can sort of see how that content gets rendered out. Going back to the state of Washington. This page is here, and I'm going to just switch to this tab. This is on my local side of things, and I have my code to the left side of the screen, and I'm going to just sort of walk you through how I bring this manifest onto this page and then render out each of these components using the Clover IIIF suite. So at the very top here, lines 2 through 7, I'm importing in my components to this page. I'm also doing some other React-y things. You don't necessarily need to fully understand what's going on here, but I'm bringing in sort of a React-based layout library to sort of help me structure the page a little bit better. And then I'm also bringing in this upgrade tool, which basically upgrades things from presentation 2 API to presentation 3 so that I can use them more easily in Clover. And then this code right here will bring my manifest to the screen. So right here in my return statement, lines 50 through 68, I unmarked this, but this is where the Clover viewer component is being rendered. And you can sort of see there's an options property there. Those are the various options that are documented in the Clover documentation online. But I'm going to just say, I'm going to render out this viewer. I'm going to render it out without an information panel to the right, meaning like I don't want to see the metadata and all that stuff right now. I just want the content resource, which is going to allow the user to be able to toggle between the various canvases, including this audio canvas right here, which is which would play out this song. And then right below that, because I want to control my page, I'm going to render out using the Clover primitives. That's again the sort of the smaller components that represent each aspect of the presentation API. So that's like the label or the title for the manifest and the summary or the description for that manifest. And I'm going to just render out right below that those 2 pieces of information. And so again, this is all coming from the manifest. You sort of see right here, Clover primitive summary as a P, as a paragraph, Clover primitives label as an H1, a heading 1. And it's just taking that JSON that's coming from the manifest and just rendering out on screen. This would work for also for a label of a canvas as well. If, for instance, if you wanted to render out a page and you wanted to have the labels for the canvas and have those be maybe heading 2s or 3s underneath a different section of the page. And then let's just say we want to have the actual metadata rendered out. Remember, we're not rendering that out top in the viewer component. We're going to render that out here using the primitives because we want to sort of break that manifest apart. Oops. And unmark that. And now I have a section here for the metadata. This is really some of the only hard-coded content here, this details heading, right? I just added that in just to sort of give this section some sort of heading. But I'm also rendering out the Clover primitives using the metadata component that I sort of discussed earlier. And I'm just saying also, hey, on these particular labels, let's have a custom piece of content so that I can control my sort of linking of that to a particular part of my website. So I'm saying I want to focus in on date and lyricist because maybe those link back to the search page as some sort of facet. This is sort of a way for you to sort of, from the consuming application side, control the layout of this metadata, even though that particular information isn't outlined in the manifest. And then at the very underneath this, I'm going to do the scroll component. This is the fun one I talked about earlier. I use ChatGPT to provide me transcriptions of each one of these canvases. This is sheet music, so I basically just wanted to render out the music for this, and I did that as text markdown. So these are annotations targeting this canvas, and it's all part of the same manifest, and it's going to be rendering out that. If I'm going to search for something like fruit here, and then I can sort of toggle and I can find fruit on this particular canvas, and then I can zoom in and find fruits, which is right here on this line. And then below this, we have the slider component. So maybe the user's done with this piece of content, and they want to move on to the next piece of sheet music. This is going to render out all the different items that are in that sheet music collection. University of Washington doesn't deliver thumbnails, which is why you don't see a thumbnail here. But you can sort of see thumbnails on a collection, I should say. But you can sort of see those items being under toString here. And these are actually linking to the University of Washington Content DM site. And at the very top, I have these sections here. This is on my consuming application side. It's not in Clover itself, but I want to say, okay, on my consuming application, I want to use serif, not sans serif fonts. Well, Clover does not make opinions about typography. Clover inherits typography. And so now, all my components are going to be rendering out using this Times New Roman or Garamond font, whatever it is. Same thing for color. I'm going to adjust color to, let's just say, something matching more my website. Let's just say the color for this maybe digital exhibit is green. I'm now rendering out green, and you can sort of see how that's spread throughout all the different Clover components. And let's go to one where there's actually this deep zoom, and so you can sort of see these icons here are inheriting that green through a CSS value. Same thing down here for this, and then also in the slider component below. And then finally, also Clover does not make opinions about whether or not the appearance of your site is in light or dark mode. So Clover will, using those CSS variables again, sort of invert your site if required. Well, what have we done here? We've basically taken this manifest and we've broken it out of that rectangle that we normally call a IIIF viewer, and we've made the entire HTML document our IIIF viewer using the various Clover components that sort of basically render out HTML5 elements throughout the screen. And I think this was a way for us to sort of think about IIIF going forward and not just isolate it to a certain section of our page. I really appreciate it. Please check out the Clover repo in Samvera Labs, and then also the demo site if you want to play around with what we were looking at earlier.